Yes, that's right. It's the Survivor Know-It-Alls, and we are back here for our fourth season of Survivor Know-It-Alls here for Survivor. I've heard it 13 different ways tonight from Jeff Probst himself. Cagayan? Cagayan? What is it, Stephen Fishback?
Whoa, excuse me. I'm
Stephen.
bursting at the seams over here. I'm so excited, Rob. I'm so excited to see you. I'm so excited to be talking about Survivor. I'm so excited by this season. I thought it was a cute twist to begin with. Tonight, it was just a totally nuts at first episode. A lot of big things to talk about. And Rob, there is no one who I would want to be talking about them more than you.
Yeah, you seem giddy, and that makes me giddy because, I don't think we've even talked since the last Survivor Know-It-Alls after the finale.
This is our only means of communication is on a podcast, and so I miss you.
And I've been getting so many messages from people. Is Stephen Fishback on Survivor right now? Because he hasn't tweeted since January 25th. So many people are concerned about you, Stephen. Where is Stephen Fishback?
That's really thoughtful. I'm taking a little bit of a hiatus. January was my birthday. It was my 35th birthday. I'm an old man, and I thought, I need to like gather some of my maturity into me and just unleash it all in one torrent on the Know-It-Alls.
Oh, see, I have only started tweeting even more since my 35th birthday.
Oh, there you go. So we're like taking two paths, and in like 10 years we'll see like which one of us is doing better. This will be like an experiment.
Yeah, maybe Robert Frost will write a poem about our social media one day.
Yeah. The tweet less retweeted.
Yeah. All right. So we've got so much to do here. Everybody is so excited. We've got about 700 people watching this live right now. It is about 20 minutes after the episode ended on the East Coast. A 2-hour Survivor premiere. So much to get to. Tough night for the Brains tribe. Oh my God.
Look, every single season or so, like maybe every other season, we say such and such a tribe is the worst tribe in history. Is the Brains tribe actually the worst tribe in Survivor history? One episode in.
Yes, I think they have the potential because arguably they lost. They were really terrible, and they lost two of their stronger players in the first night. Whereas we had the tribe with Malcolm and Denise, where at the end it was like Malcolm and Denise sort of cutting out the fat. This is sort of like the two, maybe the two of the best guys that they had are now gone.
Not just two of their strongest players, Rob. Also all of their rice.
And the rice is gone, and it's about to have a torrential downpour. And
they had like the worst shelter building experience since All Stars, with Rupert. Like that's basically,
yeah.
What do you think of this? Hold
on.
All right. Well.
Let me set the show up. And then we'll jump into everything. I know everybody's excited. Okay, so this is Survivor Know-It-Alls. We are live here on robhasawebsite.com. People are going in the chat room. Scott St. Pierre is taking your questions. Use the hashtag RHAP. And of course, if you're listening to the audio or if you want to join our YouTube channel, you can go to robhasawebsite.com/YouTube, and we always appreciate it when you subscribe. And if you're happy to see the show back and you like what we do here tonight, we love it when you give us a like on the YouTube video as well. And if you want to subscribe to Rob Has a Podcast, this is only the beginning. We got exit interviews with both players who were kicked off tomorrow. We'll have our full recap podcast with Steven's favorite player, Otis, is going to be joining us for the first podcast of the season. So we've got so much to do here. So if you want to subscribe, robhasawebsite.com/iTunes for the main show feed, or for Survivor only, you can go to robhasawebsite.com/Survivor podcast. All right, Steven, go ahead. You have the floor.
Just make sure Otis is paying attention to you on the podcast, Rob, and isn't off meditating somewhere when he's supposed
I will.
Yeah.
I'll check that out. All right, so let's just jump in here. Okay, question number one. So we had this insane tribal council here tonight, which, as I'm watching it, I did not think it was going to be an insane tribal council. Jeff Probst is like, boy, a lot of stuff came out here tonight. Let's see how it goes. And I said to Nicole, I'll tell you how it goes. Everybody votes out the girl that dumped out all the rice for the tribe. I'll tell you how it goes. And that was not how it went.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, as crazy and bad as Jatia is, I feel like Gary is almost that bad. I feel like he's close. Like, he actually says to Tasha, you are not in our alliance. There's a 3-person alliance. It's me, Spencer, and Cass, and you are not in it. Garrett is a poker player. His job is to withhold information. Is Garrett's poker tell when he tells the other people what cards he has?
It's a literal tell?
Yeah. That's what he did tonight. He literally told Tasha what she was doing.
Okay, so tell me this. Did they change their vote at Tribal Council, or did they already decide the three of them were together, and that just sort of was, the icing on the cake?
That's a good question. I'd be very interested to hear whenever you get to talk to Cass, probably next week. That I would bet that Cass changed her vote at Tribal Council based on how bad Garrett was.
Yeah. And boy, everybody is all fired up tonight. Jimmy Edwards says a nuclear bomb was just dropped on the Brains tribe. There you go. Boy,
this is the problem with casting non-brain. I feel like this is not representative of what a real Brains tribe could do, Rob. Like, these are some of the stupidest players ever.
Well, this confirmed all of our worst suspicions of what could happen with the Brains tribe. In all the previews that we did, we said that, all these players in a vacuum seem smart, but will they just be gunning for each other out of the gate? And, I think that's exactly what happened. You had David and Garrett going for each other right from the get-go, and now they're both gone. And now you have Spencer left here with these three women who... Now it's an insane night. It's an insane night overall. Steven, what did you think of Spencer? I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that, because you haven't been tweeting, so I really have no idea what you think of any of these players.
So initially I was a little bit hesitant about Spencer. I thought he was a little bit too much talk, a little bit too much bravado about how evil he was going to be, how manipulative.
And you don't like that?
I like the bravado when it's coming from a guy who I think can execute on the bravado. Russell Hantz talks smack. He is going to bring smack to the table. Spencer's a 21-year-old kid. He's got no life experience. I thought this kid is he's gonna self-destruct. He's gonna try to be this mastermind, and he's gonna fail. I think Spencer is playing it exactly as he should, and he is not going for the mastermind role. He is sitting back. He is playing other people's game, and he is just subtly influencing people. And I thought one great example of that was in this conversation he has with Garrett, where he's talking about the immunity idol. And he's saying, oh, don't you think David could have the idol? I'm kind of worried maybe David has the idol. On the one hand, maybe Spencer is actually worried about David having the idol. I think Spencer's worried that Garrett might have the idol. That's
interesting. I thought Spencer had a great first night. I too thought Spencer might just be all bluster. But no, I thought he had a really good first night. Unfortunately, he's just on a tribe that is really not very good. He could be doomed by his tribe. He could not even make the merge, and it would be 100% because of the tribe that he was on, and not because of anything that he did wrong.
Yeah, I think in any other situation, Spencer would be a really great player. Who knows? Malcolm had the opportunity to become a great player, partially because Mott Singh is such a disaster. He really got forged in the fire of Mott Singh. And same thing could happen to Spencer. There's something to be said for going to Tribal Council a lot of times. You really learn how to play the game really well. And who knows, if there's a swap, or Spencer's the last person standing, maybe.
Let's take it from Cass's perspective. She was in a big swing position tonight. So did she make the right move to go with the other two women, to go with Tasha and Jatia, not JT? I don't want to get
my heart surged.
I'm not talking about your friend.
I get excited. Yeah.
Jatia. Did Cass make the right decision? I think this is interesting.
It's a tough one. I think the answer is no, because in either group she is third. She is third with Jatia. She is third with Garrett. But on Jatia's side, she has the person who's losing all the challenges, who's poured out the rice. And on Garrett's side, she has a pretty strong guy, as bad as he is strategically. I think the move is to go with the people who are not going to actively destroy your tribe. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, I think she made the wrong decision here, because the last time I checked, it's a final three. And even if she's the Monica Culpepper to Jervis and Tyson, it still has a much better chance to get to the final three with those three than to be with Tasha, who I actually thought had a pretty decent night, and Jatia, who I thought was terrible, Steven.
I didn't love Tasha. Now, there's something very sympathetic about Tasha being like, we're supposed to strategize, this is Survivor, but you don't tell people you want to strategize, you just make it happen.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I thought that I couldn't believe that Tasha had like a tantrum over. On the one hand, you had Garrett who was doing something that was very dumb. That he basically was like trying to filibuster the vote. He was like, okay, we're gonna vote out Jatia tonight, and now for the rest of the day, I just would like to stand here and nobody else have any side conversations. It's done. Let's just relax now and we'll just wait till they tell us it's time for tribal council. And Tosh says, "What? That's not fair. That's not fair. I want to strategize with people. This isn't like just go strategize.
Right.
Just go do
make
it.
it happen. And like telling people you want to strategize is not the best move. Let's talk about Garrett's decision here because I agree, horrible play by Garrett. But in a certain circumstance, that kind of attitude can actually be very helpful. We're all going to make a decision as a group. We're not. No one is going to go off and talk. Philip very effectively did it in Survivor Care Mode. Boston Rob, obviously the master of it on Survivor Redemption Island. If you make sure that nobody can strategize, then there's no fear of screwing up the vote. What is Garrett doing wrong that those people were doing right?
Well, in those instances, what people are doing wrong is that, okay, we're all together. We're going to tell each other. If anybody says anything, you're going to come back and we're going to report that information. That's
Right.
different than we're all just going to sit here and nobody is allowed to have a side conversation.
Or leave, or like walk away.
Boston Rob said, okay, you're all going to have a buddy. Okay, and if you have a buddy, then that person, if your buddy is talking out of school, you got to come back and tell me. That was the system. But this is a lot different than that. And it's ironic that then they went to go make sure that Cass and Tasha were not strategizing, and meanwhile Jatia went and she did the brand enhance. Who does the brand enhance?
What world are we living in now when this is like an acceptable move? It's like not shocking. It's a thing that's happened, and it's a thing that won't even necessarily get you voted out. What a society, Rob.
What a country!
Right.
I can't believe it. People are doing the brand enhance.
And I bet now everyone does it. I bet now as soon as someone knows they're going home, they dump the rice. They're like, that's the thing. You dump the rice.
There was actually a person that watched Brandon Hance on TV and said, that's a good idea. I'm going to do that.
That worked for him.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do Brandon.
It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable because now it is less outrageous. It is less outrageous and now more people are going to do it.
Yeah.
I pity these youthful Survivor contestants who are out there. Who knows what's going to happen to them? Anything can happen. Someone will get murdered, and they'll be like, you can't vote them out.
So now it's not even like, okay, go watch them and make sure that nobody's making an alliance. It's like, okay, you stand and watch, guard the rice, and make sure the person who's going to get voted out doesn't go and take the rice and dump it out or put our shoes in the fire or do any of these things. It's like you have to just have a police state.
Yeah, you've always got to babysit the person who's going home because they and it's like the craziest thing was that tribal council. She was just like, oh, I did that. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that silly of me? It was not like a horrible thing that they wrestled with. It was like, yeah.
And it used to be you would blindside people. We're like two old men. We're like the old guys on the Muppets. In my day, you blindsided people so they wouldn't make a new alliance. Now you blindside people so they don't go and dump the rice out in the fire.
It's crazy. I love Jeff Prost's comment. It was like, what is it? It was like an interesting tribal council and a crazy one. He was just straight up, this was absolutely nuts.
Yeah, Jeff Probst says the reason why people do blindsides is because they're effective.
They are effective. It's a good. He knows a thing or two about Survivor. That guy.
Yeah. So let's. I don't even know where to go. I guess let's.
Go ahead. I mean, maybe you've already talked about this, and I think you have. Is just the fact that this Brains tribe is not the Brains tribe that we deserve to have. It is not a tribe of actual brains. It is just a tribe of people who cannot keep their mouths shut. It's not like Spencer is the only, and David maybe, are the only real brains. Maybe Cass as well.
Tasha. I don't have a big problem. Yeah. If anything, my biggest problem is Jatia with this group because everybody else seems like they were savvy about the game. I mean, I don't know exactly what Garrett was trying to do, but he at least has a profession where there is strategy involved in what he's doing, and I think he supposedly studied the game. But this Jatia, I really am at my wit's end.
Anybody who shows up on day one with washboard abs has not studied the game. That is a person who is not interested in being there for 39 days. You do not go for 39 days looking like you just have been like on a shredding program.
Garrett claimed he spent 2,000 hours preparing for Survivor. Oh no.
What does that even mean? How do you quantify that?
He just spent 2,000 hours preparing for Survivor. It's not good. Let's touch on the first tribal council as well before we get to. By the way, there are 2 other tribes. In the first hour, we had David, who I was very surprised because I thought David was going to be somebody who I thought could have gone very far in the game.
David was one of my favorites going in.
Yeah, and David did not do a lot wrong, in my opinion. I felt like his biggest mistakes were in that first, he acted too aggressively in that first little interaction with the group.
And he said to Garrett, I'm making a decision based on the end game. He wasn't really apologetic, and he just was like very matter of fact. And maybe he thought that was going to be more effective, to not have this like false sense of apology and just be like, here's what I'm doing.
Yeah, and I think that's basically a Survivor sin when it's day one and you're thinking about, a day that's in the double digits, that you just worry about getting through 3 days. And if you get elected the leader of that group, who is the weakest? The right answer is Cass.
Right, always go for the older lady, because often they'll just excuse you. And also, like, did these people really think these people were getting voted out of the game? Like, how many times has it happened that someone's been isolated the first day? Now, it happened to us in Token Cheens, and we had a moment of like, oh my God, maybe these 2 people are going home. But 3 people on day one, it's like, what are you thinking? It's not going to be a game of 15 people. You can't realistically be thinking all these people are actually going home right away.
Yeah, and doubly, what I'd be thinking is these people are going to, get some sort of a power or something like that.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, I mean, I know it was different last season where somebody was going to Redemption Island, but I don't know. They didn't see that last season.
And too, like if someone went to Redemption Island, then you don't want that person to be your biggest threat. I don't like the leader twist, Rob. I don't like it. I think it's unfair. I think it adds tension in a way that is not organic to the game. It basically, once you've been the leader, you are screwed because you have a person with a grudge against you. And my personal favorite for the season, I feel like, is really getting screwed by that, who is LJ. I feel like LJ would be doing gangbusters, except for the fact that he was elected leader, and now he has Morgan with a vendetta against him.
Is that necessarily a bad thing? Is Morgan with a vendetta? Is that? I know the episode is called "A Hot Girl with a Grudge," but this isn't exactly like pissing off Kaiser Soze.
I think it is a bad thing. I mean, it turns out like empirically to be a bad thing because Bryce plays on it. They recruit Jeremiah. I think LJ. I worry about LJ because I love him. He's beautiful looking. And he's amazing at puzzles. I like his attitude, and I think that this sort of negative Nancy alliance with Morgan and Bryce is going to be his downfall.
You're concerned about the Morgan and Bryce alliance.
I'm concerned that we saw them pull in Jeremiah at the end of it, and now that's 3 people, and I'm not seeing. Yeah, go ahead.
I think Jeremiah was with LJ.
But wasn't there a scene of them pulling?
Yeah,
him in?
There was. I don't understand why he would switch from LJ.
Yeah, because Morgan has giant boobs. Did you really not understand that?
I guess so. So because he wants. So Bryce is like the pimp, and basically like Jeremiah is the John, and Morgan is the professional woman, and Bryce is like, hey man, you want to get some of this? Like you gotta pay up. You're in this alliance now. We need your vote.
Are you saying Morgan is a lady of the beach?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it's like. He's pimping out Morgan. She's the bait, and he's pimping her out.
Okay, all right. What did you think of the beauty tribe? Is it too soon to switch tribes?
No, I'm sure we'll come back to it. We got a ton of questions. I'm sure we'll come back to the Brains tribe. We could talk beauty tribe. Yeah, I feel like that was pretty much. I think we all thought LJ was going to be good. I don't think there's any surprise there that he came out of the gate good. I thought actually Morgan was a little sharper than I expected her to be.
Her lie about why she was off looking for the idol and what she chose, that was so on point. That was really smart.
Yeah, that was very smart. I was very impressed with her. So for a number of reasons, Stephen.
Because of the boobs.
No, Stephen, did you think it was an unfair advantage for the beauty tribe that the immunity challenge involved lugging around a huge chest? Do you think that was why they won?
Yeah, that's really funny. I didn't hear
that. Bryce impressed me tonight too. I thought Bryce was good.
I felt like Bryce was exactly the type of Bryce that I expected him to be. He was like, he had like some great one, like buy these purple pants, I'm gonna set you up or something. Like he was scheming in a very low key way. He was great. I really liked him.
Yeah, and I felt like Bryce could have gone either way, and I feel like I'm happy to see that he ended up being. It seems like he's a strong player, and he's there to play the game. He wasn't like somebody that he wasn't wilting on day one. He actually was like there to play, so that was good. And
that's a great point. Yeah.
And then I felt like Alexis and Jeffro were kind of non-entities so far through the first episode.
Right, they were just like giggling and like splashing in the shore. They were like the eye candy of the beauty tribe.
Yeah, Steven, are you all urinating a lot?
What a strange! I know you're not pooping.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Braun tribe. And Stephen, I have no idea what you think of any of the players. I was very high on Sarah all through the preseason, and I felt redeemed in my day or night one assessment of Sarah so far.
Yeah, who was just on your screen behind you. I really liked Sarah as well. I thought she was great. Of the people who are elected leaders, she was the only one who seemed to be able to do it, without irritating someone. Trish, to her credit, took it very well. I mean, Braun is like exactly what you want Braun to be. They're a bunch of athletes. They want to high five. They're all go team, except for Tony. But I agree, Sarah is great.
Yeah, Sarah was great. So Cliff Robinson was good. I did not think Cliff Robinson would do well here, and Cliff Robinson had a good first night.
Yeah, he was charming. Everybody loved him. He's just laughing, being nice. I love Woo. Woo's great. How do you like Woo? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they're good. They're fun. And it seems like in that group, it seems like the four that's forming is Sarah, Woo, Cliff, and even Lindsay, and then it's Trisha and Tony that are on the outs.
And I like Tony. I really enjoy just the way he talks. And he built a spy shack? Like, I don't even understand. Can you explain the spy shack to me, Rob? What does the spy shack do?
Yeah, so Nicole summed up the Spy Shack best, I felt like. So Nicole said to me, I feel like the Spy Shack is just Tony being like, okay, you can't see me. You can't see me. And I'm holding my hands in front of my face. You can't see me. I'm in the Spy Shack now. Boy, do you think that Philip Shepard was watching the TV tonight and throwing the remote control over that he did not invent the Spy Shack?
You know that there is going to be a specialist hut next time Philip Shepard is on. That's amazing.
In the next specialist Costa Rica job too, there will be a spy shack at least.
Yeah, it's like it is literally. You're absolutely right. It is just like a place for like Tony to like put his hands over his face. Like it's like a little like. What is it? Can you? I seriously don't even get like. What's it in Tony's mind? What is it?
I think in Tony's mind, it's a bush that's behind the shelter that he can either hide behind or in which then he can then eavesdrop on the other people while they're...
You're going to notice Tony there? Why not just go behind the shelter? If you want to be behind the shelter, why do you have to climb into a bush to get...
Boy, how bad did Tony mishandle the Sarah, are you a cop conversation?
Yeah, pretty badly. I mean, I feel like he wasn't even sure. Like, when he said that thing about, I'll be honest with you, I'm not. Like, I feel like maybe he was, like, on the fence about it. That's a hard one. You would tell her you were a cop.
I don't think that, like, not for anything. If I was on a tribe and I found out somebody was a cop, I wouldn't say, boy, that person's a cop. I got to vote them out because cops are very untrustworthy. And people who are, they're not loyal, and they're not like if he was a bad guy, then I wouldn't say I was a bad guy. I would say I was a cop. I don't think that. Why is people overthink this so much?
People
every
just like
job. Every job. If you're a school teacher, you're like, oh, I don't want to say I'm a school teacher because then people will know that I work with kids and I have tenure. So I'll say I'm a doctor. Like,
Yeah. People are just so excited to be like sneaky and devious. They've been applying to Survivor for years. The whole application process itself has lasted months. They've been thinking about it for weeks. They've been on a plane. They've been at Ponderosa pregame. They are so excited to be devious that they're like all of these plans. That's why I feel like Tony's. It's like a little kid with his spy games. Oh, I'm not a cop. I work in construction. I mean, like, why is construction better than a cop? You know, like, people have great associations with construction workers.
Yeah, he's gonna be whistling at all the women walking by, or then she would say, "Oh, you're in construction, great. Oh, that'll be such a big help with the shelter." Like, I'm in.
Yeah. Different kind of construction. Yeah, naval construction. But I like Tony. I mean, the fact that he immediately. The Braun tribe is a little bit low-key. Tony seems to be going full throttle. I appreciated that. He found the idol, not for nothing. Am I using that right? I feel like I learned that expression for you, not for nothing. Not for nothing?
No, that's good. That's good. What are you saying is not for nothing?
That he found the idol.
Yeah. Well, first, I was concerned that he went into the water and he said, I found a lump. I was like, oh, no, Tony. But thank goodness. Yeah. Thank goodness. It was just the immunity idol. What do you think of immunity idols hidden in bags underwater this season?
I would kind of like it, except that they seem pretty easy to find. People are just like taking a swim and they're finding idols.
Yeah, and Garrett was blindsided with an idol. Didn't seem to not even bring the idol with him to Tribal Council.
Left the idol back at camp. Does that mean someone is going to find it in his stuff? I think it does.
Was it in his stuff or he hid it somewhere else?
Not made clear.
Because it seems to me, and I never had the hidden immunity idol. If I had the hidden immunity, I would bring it with me every time to Tribal Council. The only place that it has any value is Tribal Council. If it was up to me, I would bring the hidden immunity idol every time I went to Tribal Council.
I mean, I agree with you in theory. I just think that, like, in practice, if you truly believe that you have everything under control, often it is more dangerous to go and dig it up if you have it properly hidden than it would be, the presumed risk of digging it up is larger than the presumed risk.
Okay, but in Garrett's situation, where with everything that was going on, do you think that he should have brought the idol with him?
I mean, Garrett, I think, had if someone just poured out the rice, I feel like I would feel pretty comfortable in thinking that person would go home, as I did tonight.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Should we? I feel like we're gonna have a million questions. I feel like let's jump into questions because I know we don't try to do like an hour show here with this. But let's go ahead and try. Let's take a few questions from you guys. Kurt Clark, the tabulator, wants to know: still thinking the Beauty Tribe is going to be the one that is full of comedy gold? Question mark. No, the Brains Tribe has been much more full of comedy gold so far.
And the Brains has kept their like number one comedic driver, who is Jatia, who amazing.
Yeah. Steven, did you hear that Jatia loves nerds?
I heard that. What is that about? What is her whole like nerd thing about? I mean,
no, let's not even get into that.
Okay.
It's complicated from what I understand.
All right.
From what I understand. Okay. This is from Coral Fanatic. Edward Morris wants to know: do you think that Cass made up her mind before Tribal, or was something said to get her to vote for Garrett? Well, could we just talk through exactly what Garrett said? And this is like one of the, if this was later, I would have watched that Tribal Council again before we came on. So how exactly what did Garrett say that was the offensive line?
I think the worst thing, Garrett, it seemed like Garrett put his foot in his mouth in a number of ways. But I felt like the worst thing he said was this thing about how, like, the Alliance all wanted Jatia out. And then, like, Cass smiled. And like Jeff was like, "What do you mean?" And Garrett was like, "Oh, the alliance of me, Spencer, and Cass." And then he tried to like contradict himself, right? Then he was like, "Oh, I don't mean that. I didn't say that." And then he had just said that. Like, what? Do you remember it wrong?
Yeah, I think so. And then he said the four of us, and somebody was like, "Which four?"
Right.
And then Jeff even said, "Wait, but isn't that just exactly what you said?" And even Spencer threw him under the bus. Like Spencer was like, "Yeah, actually, Jeff, yeah, that is what he said. He can't."
I think Spencer's playing the right game though, in terms of just answering the questions honestly at Tribal Council. I think that's the way to play now. I think Kaufman did it really well in Caramon and just being as honest and straightforward as possible. And I think that's what Spencer is doing. It's like, I am going to say, when Jeff asks something, I'm always going to give the most forthright answer, and then no one can accuse me of being duplicitous.
What's the next move for Spencer?
I think he's got to put the target on. I mean, one, Jatia really blows up again, and two, I think Cass. I think Cass is going to be a weak link in a challenge. You know, these people still have to compete in challenges. They just voted off their ox. You know, like what's going to happen to them?
Yeah, that's why I think that was such a bad move for Cass, because I feel like that what has a better chance of getting you to the merge, at least with some numbers. And I feel like to vote out, she's the third in that Garrett and Spencer alliance, okay, no matter what. And you know what? Guess what? She's probably third in the Tasha-Jatia alliance anyway. So if I'm going to be third, I would rather have Garrett over Jatia, who single-handedly cost the challenge. One of the worst ways, like, not since Daniel Liu has one person been so responsible for a tribe blowing such a big lead on Survivor.
Huge lead, and a freaking nuclear engineer. I love Spencer's remark that, like, he makes him actually afraid that she is a nuclear engineer. She also screwed up the first challenge when she, like, just started grabbing keys and not unlocking things. She was really one of their, like, major problems.
And she also screwed up the shelter. She showed up and was like, hey, I'm the nuclear engineer. And, you know, it really is. Spencer had it right. It's terrifying to think that she is our lives are in her hands.
Yeah. Probably one of the worst players ever. I mean, you know, someone who's not voted out first is often, you know, you can't say, oh, well, they were voted out, so they're the worst. She's redefining bad.
We've seen players bounce back, so the story isn't written, but I would say probably one of the worst first nights in the history of the show for a person that survived the first night.
You're thinking Ho-Ho, the Holly Hoffman?
That's pretty bad. Holly Hoffman bounced back. Holly Hoffman. I don't think that anybody. I mean, really, how many things? It's even a miracle for somebody who went to 2 tribal councils. How many things did she survive? One, she screwed up the whole thing with the shelter and bossed everybody around, and people wanted to vote her out for that. Then she screwed up in the first challenge. Not the, you know, what you can't put all the blame on her, but definitely she was not a strong part of the first challenge. Then she blows the second challenge completely 100%,
yeah.
110% her fault. Then she dumps out the rice on.
It's like she's testing them, you know. It's like, how far can I push this? It's like it's like the entire show of Survivor is getting punked, Rob. It's like, how far can I push this and not get voted out? What else could she do now to cause herself to get voted out?
Right. It's like she's the mole.
Yeah.
She could be the mole. Yeah. So really, just a horrible first night, and yet she's there.
So what did Garrett say, and do you think it was enough to cause Cass to flip?
I think that what they didn't like about Garrett, and not particularly what he said there. I think it was more that what he did early on in the camp. It seemed to really bug Tasha, and we have to find out whether or not Cass flipped at Tribal Council or Cass flipped back at camp after her and Tasha had the conversation. I think that's the key thing that we need to find out about this episode.
I agree. I mean, I do think Garrett was bad enough at Tribal Council that it would just his. If I were, what's her name?
Which one? Cass.
If I were Cass sitting there at Tribal Council. And you know what? Jatia had a pretty good performance at Tribal Council. Jatia does pretty well at Tribal Councils. And you know, Tasha's and Jatia on the one side are pretty reasonable. And then there's Garrett just like fumbling around and making an ass of himself. I might side that way as well.
Yeah, Garrett did not have a good performance at the Tribal Councils. Between the spider on him, it was also weird in the first Tribal Council where Jeff was like, okay, does anybody want to play the Hidden Immunity Idol? And he was like, like, what was that about?
Editing. I don't know about that. I'm always suspicious of like those like random, you know, it's always like someone taking a drink of water at just that moment.
Yeah. All right. So let's take some more questions. This is from Fitzy Brendan, Brendan Fitzpatrick. He wants to know, has there ever been someone who is more obviously a recruit and has never seen a single episode than Garrett? Hashtag RHAP. I don't know if that's the case. I think that Garrett has seen the show before.
I think I'm with Fitzy here, that Garrett is a recruit and he's someone who watched a ton of episodes to prepare in advance. and that is where his knowledge of the show comes from. Now, I also was that person, the recruit who watched a ton of episodes to prepare in advance. I was just a lot smarter than him.
Who would win in a poker game, you or Garrett?
I believe I would just ask him what his cards were, and he would tell me, and I would win.
Yeah. No, he would sit. What he would do is sit at the table and say, "All right, guys, seriously, we're all here at the poker table. No bluffing whatsoever. Let's just all show each other our cards. Look, I have a king and a 4. That's what I have. So let's just play it out. Let's see what the flop is, and then let's just go from there." He's a joke. And at the point when he has the big stack, where he has the most chips, he's like, all right, everybody, let's just all show each other what cards we have.
Down. Yeah, exactly.
But wait, how am I supposed to beat you if you let's just not worry about that.
Well, he was really whiny too. You know, that was another thing that really bothered me about Garrett, is he was like, I'm hungry and tired. I don't want to play. I don't want to work. First he said he didn't want to work because he wanted to play the strategic game. Then when it was time to play the strategic game, he's like, I don't want to play the strategic game. I want to sit here.
No, he didn't say that. That wasn't what. Well, you know, you're kind of right. He didn't want. He didn't want to. He felt like the game was hard. The conditions were hard, and he didn't feel like doing anything. So you didn't feel like he got out of the game. I mean, it's day what? 4, day 5. He did not seem to have a love of the game, of somebody that's like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm playing Survivor. This is great. And that adrenaline carries you through a week, 2 weeks in the game. You know?
And you know what? Maybe if he had a little bit of extra padding, he might have been able to last a little bit longer.
Yeah, that's good. The padding is good. Don't sleep on the padding.
Yeah.
That's good.
We got Paige Thompson wants to know, will Survivor ever ban food/camp destruction? I would rather get punched once by Jatia than lose my rice supply. Good question, Rob. What do you think? Will they ban it when everyone is always throwing out the rice?
Well, I don't know. I think that something worse needs to happen before we do that, before we change the rules. Because how are you gonna call that? I mean, and then also you have no episode. So if we make the rule, if you pour the rice in the fire, then immediate DQ. You make it very easy to sort of have the easy DQ. It's like, oh, you want out of the game? Okay, dump the rice in the fire.
Yeah. I agree. I hope they don't. I don't think they would either. And honestly, I do not think that many people will do it. It was an erratic thing that Brandon did. It was obviously equally erratic that Jatia did. These are not mentally stable people.
Yes. You mean survivors?
As a whole, but those two specifically.
Okay.
Mr. Mack wants to know, since Garrett left the immunity idol back at camp, will it be re-hidden or will it stay in camp where he left it?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I think that they'd have to give new clues to it, I think.
I think it's a producer call. I think if it's like in his stuff, they would like let someone find it. I think if it's buried, that they might go get another one.
Yeah. That's a tough question. I don't know. We'll see. That's I'd be interested to know what you guys think about that in the comments. Okay, let's go. Next question from Miss Zandra B. wants to know, what was the right move for David when he had to pick the weakest player? Well, I said it was just pick Cass. Don't overthink it. I think that's a bad job when you have a decision to make and you do something that is not the straightforward decision. And especially, he showed up wearing, the show picks out for you what you're wearing.
Right.
But even in those first couple of moments where Cass said, I never trust a man in a suit, which was bad on her part. Don't say that. Don't say that. Just shut up. Say something nice when you're in front of the whole group. With the first thing that somebody should hear from you shouldn't be, I don't trust that person because he's wearing a suit. It was the same thing that happened with Jervis's niece and Brad Culpepper last season, right? That she had Brad Culpepper's like, well, I might have to throw the challenge and then she's like, well, I don't want him on my team. Just don't say anything when you have everybody in front of everybody. Don't say anything negative.
Francesca screwed herself when she said about Boston Rob. Worried about day one. I'm worried about the returning players. They got to go. Then
what about with Coach in Survivor South Pacific when Christine was like, oh, they got the returning players. They're the first ones to go. Just don't say anything.
Yeah. Here. You know what? What about this move for David in that situation though? And here's what I thought he was doing. David turned to Garrett and he slapped him on the shoulder, and I thought, oh, this is interesting. David is going to say, Garrett is our ox. I trust this guy. I feel a connection with him. I'm gonna whatever mission is about to happen. I want Garrett representing me and my team in that mission. You go over there, Garrett. What about that move?
That would have been great. That would have been fantastic. And even like he could have even done the Frank Underwood move where he does that, and then
No
even
spoilers.
if he doesn't,
No spoilers.
not spoiler.
Okay.
But even if he doesn't mean it, when he gets back to camp and say, "Look, Garrett, I trusted you. You were the only person that I would have put in that position. Somebody like yourself. That would have been good too. But it just seemed like, oh, here's the biggest threat in the team, and now I've pissed him off.
Right. Yeah.
Like why did you want to piss him off?
Yeah, I agree, Rob. Bad.
That's why we're the know-it-alls. That we know everything.
We would have done it so well. Can you imagine?
we would have won this season. All right. Oh, Sarah Freeman. She wants to know: can Jatia recover Holly Hoffman style from her first week breakdown, or is she Hans material? Steven, what's your take on this? Recovery or no recovery?
I mean, I think it's unlikely that she recovers. I think it's always possible. I think that you can basically, if you're in the game, you can recover from anything. Can she win with this legacy of having thrown out the rice? I wonder if she could win with that. What do you think there, Rob?
No, she can't recover. She is unrecoverable, and she's not cut out for this game. She has way too thin of a skin that anything that anybody says to her, she's taking it way personally. Even at Tribal Council, that Jeff Probst is like, all right, Jatia, and she's like, oh, I knew you were going to talk to me. Oh, yeah. Why did you have to? Like, it's Tribal Council. It's Tribal Council. Like, it's not. Jeff Probst has to ask you a question. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, don't get offended.
Right. That's interesting. That's a good observation. That she's got a little bit of like a narcissist personality disorder and relates everything back to herself. To be fair, she had just thrown out the rice.
yeah. And then that was the first Tribal Council.
Oh, really? No. She had just ruined their shelter. She had just destroyed their shelter.
Yeah. All right. Survivor Texas. Take this one, Steven.
Survivor Texas wants to know, Jeff replenished Brandon's tribe when he threw the rice, but when Jatia does it seems like he doesn't want to replenish the rice. What do you think, Rob? Do you think Jeff is going to replenish the rice? And if not, is it the right call?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do there. I wonder if they'll just give them rice and we won't see it on TV.
I don't know. I think that the Brandon thing was a specific circumstance. It was obviously a mental breakdown. Jatia's thing, it's so cavalier, and they don't even vote her out. I think if you don't vote her out, you don't get more rights. That's the rule.
Yeah, and you know what? Yeah, I take it back what I said. They should not get more rice. She's still there. She can't dump out the rice and then get more, and she's still there. The Brandon thing was okay. Basically, the Brandon thing was boy, this guy is way unstable. We are psychologically medevacing him right now. We'll pretend we voted him off, and he's unstable, and you guys shouldn't have had to deal with that. That's bad on us that we put him out there. Here's the rice that he did. But in this instance, this person is still there.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What a game. What a country.
I don't know. And somebody like that, you go on Survivor, and unless she's going to be a professional reality star, how is this person go back to work? And go into a work environment
go into the nuclear engineering environment that she works in.
Right, wouldn't you imagine as a nuclear engineer, wouldn't you imagine if somebody they don't get her in, she doesn't get to sign the birthday card before they give it to somebody, is she gonna take the fuel rods and dump them out? What? This seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, not a great move when you're in a real profession to behave like a maniac on national television.
Should Jatia have peed in the rice?
That's the thing. If you're a Hans, you can do whatever you want on TV because you will always be a Hans, and doing crazy things on TV is how you make your living. But when you have a real job and you are required to act like a normal human being, behave, people.
Yeah. Brandon Hance also, as many of us on Facebook know, has been, somewhat unlucky in love in the last few months, and he's looking. Do you think that Jatia could be a potential match for Brandon Hance? Should they date?
No, they would have no food in their home. Every time there was a fight, it would all go out the window.
All right, let's do a few more questions with Steven Fishback, who's on fire tonight.
Woo!
Here he goes. All right, let's go from Frog Dog Beth, who says, Steven, from the first episode, how similar do you think Spencer is to you?
You know what? I did see some similarities with Spencer and me. I thought the way he guided conversations was sort of the way that I did it, in a kind of like subsecondary but guiding role. But you know, Spencer, certainly his JT was a lot dumber and ultimately was voted out. So that's to his benefit and his detriment. You know, Rob, you're a classic Survivor nerd. What do you think about Spencer's gameplay compared to your own?
Compared to my own, I mean, I think that what he's done is a good job. Kind of like what, you know, I feel like the similarity between him and myself is, you know, just show up in the first couple days and don't make waves.
Right.
Just try to get people to like you.
Yeah.
And that's it. Don't show up on day one and be like calling the shots. Just show up. Like don't you know don't piss people off, and just be there, and nobody will vote you off. Unfortunately, that didn't work out for me as good the second time I tried to do that strategy, but the first time it works. Just don't give people a reason to vote you out, and they won't vote you out.
I really liked at the end of the episode when he, you know, after Garrett was voted off, and he was like, well, is anyone going to welcome me to the bottom? I thought that was great. You know, it was like a very, I mean, it was Cochran-esque. I mean, in the sort of self-aware remark that brings attention to the game itself. Is Spencer a Cochran that doesn't suck? That's what he claims.
That's what he did. I actually thought Cass's line was better when she said, it's not so bad. I thought that was really, really good. I thought I liked Cass a lot tonight. I thought that Cass, I picked Cass. I thought she was going to be the first one out of this tribe. And I thought that Cass, even though I think she made the wrong move, I liked her as a character on the show. And I hope that she sticks around. Yeah,
we haven't really seen that character, have we? This sort of older, I don't know how old Cass is, but older on Survivor is anyone over 30. The older, like, Survivor, like, schemer, right? Like, who else have we seen who's like that?
Well, I said I thought she could be Kathy Vavrick O'Brien.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Although Kathy was more, like, inspirational than I feel like Cass is. Like, Cass is getting a little bit more cynical.
Yeah. But, you know, cut from the same cloth, maybe.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay.
Hey, Rob, Joe Kirsch wants to know, do you think Spencer can dig himself out of the hole he's in? #RHAP.
Yeah, I don't think that there's anything that's saying, oh my God, I don't feel like Spencer is going to get voted out next week.
No.
But like the warning light is on. I'd say let's put the Spencer light at yellow.
Yeah, I mean, the odds are that Brains will lose again, right? But like maybe something in them will think like we have to keep like the one dude we have, you know, like not that like dudes are so valuable, but you know, it's a physical game. There's lifting.
And I think that he can, if anybody, you know, I feel like Garrett was sort of not letting him play the game either. Like Garrett was sort of like the boss who was like, all right, you're with me, and you know we're not strategizing, we're not gonna overthink this. And now Spencer is really kind of free now to play his game a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. I think that it will be very liberating for Spencer, and really it could be for the best for him. You know, it could be like make him come out of what would have been Garrett's shadow.
Yeah. Okay.
Steve Helling, writer for People Magazine.
The Steve Helling
wants to know what's up with them giving a friggin' saw to the tribes. What tools did you have in your seasons? Rob,
some people were pissed off about the saw. I saw Matt Bischoff on Twitter was tweeting about the saw. We did not get tools really in the Amazon. We all had a machete. That was probably the biggest advantage. That we had 8 machetes, and I know it's a big deal that you only get one machete.
I remember that. You were always hacking through the jungles.
Yeah, we all had a machete because it looked cool.
It did look really cool.
And then in Survivor All-Stars, we didn't have anything to start, but then we had a Home Depot challenge, and then we had tools left over from that.
And then I didn't like on season. We had a machete, and that was it. And then we won fishing gear, which was pretty useless, like the spear. the rods were okay. But you could only fish you could only fish at dusk basically, and then by then it was too late because that's when the fish bit, and then by then it was too late to clean them. So it was not a great
Speaking of the fish and the fish puzzle, who was getting the fishy?
So this was Well, what do you think? I'm giving it to Tony.
Tony.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that.
Who do you like? Should I give it to?
Well, I think you could give the fishy to Sarah.
Who is Sarah? Oh, yeah. Okay, Sarah.
I think she had a good night. She seemed to be she was the only person that was able to be the leader from those 3 tribes and come away with her tribe liking her. You know.
Yeah. The problem I have is that there are. Yeah, I would like to give it to Sarah. That's a good one. The only problem is I have 600 words, and there's a lot of stuff with the brains to talk about, and nobody on that tribe is worthy of the fishy. So it's like I got to talk about Tony, because I got to talk about the idol, and I got to talk about
That's
highway.
This is inside baseball with the People blog.
Yeah, he's seeing how
finding out how the sausage is made. Yeah. All right, let's do 2 more questions. 2 more. All right, you do one and I'll do one.
All right, Samuel Peterson wants to know, are cute girls more trustworthy than hot girls? What do you think, Rob?
Well, let's talk about. Well, I don't know. We'll get ourselves in trouble if I give you all of the female Survivor players and you tell me if they're cute or hot.
Oh, no, I like that.
Oh, you do? Okay. Are hot survivors more dangerous than cute survivors?
I think let's talk. I think there's a difference with hot girls, cute girls. I think cute girls as a whole are probably more. No, I don't know. I get his thinking because it's like the hot girl is going to be more of a vixen. She's going to be like more used to manipulating men. I think cute girls are actually just as used to manipulating men as hot girls are, and hot girls might. I don't know. What do you think, Rob?
See, I think that the difference between cute and hot is sort of the self-awareness that you're attractive.
Right.
Where I feel like cute is sort of like I'm attractive and I don't really understand what that does to people. And I think hot is I'm attractive and I know what that does to other people. So I thought that was actually kind of an interesting line, and I do agree with it. And I'm very excited for Survivor 31, cute versus hot.
I feel like I've said something incriminating now. I feel like I've revealed my fear of cute and hot girls. But yes, I'm terrified.
All right, one last question with Steven tonight. From Peppermint Fatty. He wants to know, so is getting voted out without even digging up your immunity idol worse than getting voted out with 2 in your bag?
No.
No. I think having the idols with you and having 2 of them is worse than on day 6 getting voted out with the idol. Is this the earliest somebody has ever been voted out with the idol? Can we get a fact check on that?
That's interesting. It may be. I would be surprised if someone had the idol by the 2nd tribal council and gotten voted. I can't think of an example where that's happened.
Yeah, I think we might be onto something here.
Yeah.
So let us know in the chat room and in the comments. Steven, I'm so excited for Know-It-Alls this season. I think
what a season!
Yeah, what a season. I think this is going to be really fun because we can really talk about these people. We don't have to couch any of our opinions because we really know these people or anything like that. So every week, 9:15, we're going to be back 15 minutes after the episode, and I think it's going to be a really, really great season.
Do you think this is going to lead to an all-star brains versus bronze versus beauty, Rob?
I hadn't thought that. I guess it's possible. Did you hear, Steven, that we cast an all-star brains versus beauty versus brawn?
Oh no.
Yes, you did. You tweeted about it.
Oh, that was the thing that Laura Morat was upset at me about for being not charming or something because I dissed Zara. Right. Yeah.
All right. Well,
I'm gonna charm her anyway. All right. Yeah. Great show, Rob. Good job.
Yeah, and I hope everybody, get locked in for the season. There's been a couple months since we did the Survivor podcast, so just make sure your subscriptions are up to date. If you want to subscribe on iTunes to Rob Has a Podcast, go to robhasawebsite.com/iTunes. And for the Survivor feed only, if you only are into Survivor, don't want to hear about Amazing Race or Big Brother or any of that other stuff, you can go to robhasawebsite.com/Survivor Podcast, and we always appreciate you subscribing to the YouTube channel and liking the video as well. So, and Steve and I will be back 1 week from tonight to talk about everything on episode. Is it now? Is next week episode 2 or episode 3?
I
guess it's episode 2. Yeah.
2. Yeah.
But they kind of gave us 2 episodes tonight. It was like 2 and 1.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow I will speak with the first 2 players voted out of the game. David.
At the same time?
No, I think they're going to be on different calls.
I hope they're different. I like them more when they're different.
Yeah, because I have one at 8:30 and one at 9. So
That sounds different.
David and Garrett will be on separate calls tomorrow, and we'll talk to them and ask them everything about what happened for this crazy brainstorm, and then we'll have our full recap podcast with Otis tomorrow. So jam-packed Thursday on RHAP. Steven, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rob.
Check out Steven's blog tomorrow on people.com.
People.com, TV Watch, Survivor. Check it out. Basically, a lot of the things I've said tonight, I'll be recycling there.
Yeah, and leave us your comments on the video and on robhasawebsite.com too, because we love to hear from you guys and tell us what you think about the show. So take care, everybody. Have a great night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.
I thought Spencer had a great first night. I too thought Spencer might just be all bluster. But no, I thought he had a really good first night. Unfortunately, he's just on a tribe that is really not very good. He could be doomed by his tribe. Like, he could not even make the merge, and it would be 100% because of the tribe that he was on, and not because of anything that he did wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think in any other situation, Spencer would be a really great player. I mean, who knows? Like, Malcolm had the opportunity to become a great player, partially because Mat Singh's such a disaster. He really got, forged in the fire of Mat Singh. And same thing could happen to Spencer. There's something to be said for going to tribal council a lot of times. You really learn how to play the game really well. And who knows, if there's a swap or, Spencer's the last, person standing, maybe.
Let's take it from Cass's perspective. She was in a big swing position tonight. So did she make the right move to go with the other two women, to go with Tasha and Jatia, not JT? I don't want to get
my heart surged.
I'm not talking about your friend.
I get excited. Yeah.
Jatia. Did Cass make the right decision? I think this is interesting.
It's a tough one. I think the answer is no, because in either group she is third. She is third with Jatia. She is third with Garrett. But on Jatia's side, she has the person who's losing all the challenges, who's poured out the rice. And on Garrett's side, she has a pretty strong guy, as bad as he is strategically. I think the move is to go with the people who are not going to actively destroy your tribe. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, I think she made the wrong decision here, because the last time I checked, it's a final 3, and even if she's the Monica Culpepper to Jervis and Tyson, it still has a much better chance to get to the final 3 with those 3 than to be with Tasha, who I actually thought had a pretty decent night, and Jatia, who I thought was terrible, Steven.
I didn't love Tasha. Now, there's something very sympathetic about Tasha being like, we're supposed to strategize, this is Survivor, but you don't tell people you want to strategize, you just make it happen.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I thought that, I couldn't believe that Tasha had a tantrum over, on the one hand you had Garrett, who was doing something that was very dumb, that he basically was trying to filibuster the vote. He was like, okay, we're going to vote out Jatia tonight, and now for the rest of the day, I just would like to stand here and nobody else have any side conversations. It's done. Let's just relax now, and we'll just wait till they tell us it's time for tribal council. And Tasha says, "What? That's not fair. That's not fair. I want to strategize with people. This isn't just go strategize.
Right.
Just go do
make it happen." And telling people you want to strategize is not the best move. Let's talk about Garrett's decision here, because I agree, horrible play by Garrett. But in a certain circumstance, that kind of attitude can actually be very helpful. We're all going to make a decision as a group, no one is going to go off and talk. Philip very effectively did it in Survivor Care Mode. Boston Rob, obviously the master of it on Survivor Redemption Island. If you make sure that nobody can strategize, then there's no fear of screwing up the vote. What is Garrett doing wrong that those people were doing right?
Well, in those instances, what people are doing wrong is that, okay, we're all together, and we're going to tell each other, if anybody says anything, you're going to come back and we're going to report that information. That's
right.
Different than we're all just going to sit here and nobody is allowed to have a side conversation.
Or leave, or walk away.
Boston Rob said, okay, you're all going to have a buddy. Okay, and if you have a buddy, then that person, if your buddy is talking out of school, you got to come back and tell me. That was the system. But this is a lot different than that. And it's ironic that then they went to go make sure that Cass and Tasha were not strategizing. And meanwhile, Jatia went and she did the brand enhance. Who does the brand enhance?
What world are we living in now when this is like an acceptable move? You know, it's like not shocking. It's a thing that's happened, and it's a thing that won't even necessarily get you voted out. What a society, Rob.
What a country. I can't believe it. People are doing the brand enhance.
And I bet now everyone does it. I bet now as soon as someone knows they're going home, they dump the rice. They're like, that's the thing. You dump the rice.
There was actually a person that watched Brandon Hance on TV and said, that's a good idea. I'm going to do that.
That worked for him.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do Brandon.
It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable because, like, now it is less outrageous. You know, like, it is less outrageous, and now more people are going to do it.
Yeah.
I pity these youthful Survivor contestants who are, you know, out there. Who knows what's going to happen to them? Anything can happen. Someone will get murdered, and they'll be like, you can't vote them out.
So now it's not even like, okay, go watch them and make sure that nobody's making an alliance. It's like, okay, you stand and watch, guard the rice, and make sure the person who's going to get voted out doesn't go and take the rice and dump it out or put our shoes in the fire or do any of these things. It's like you have to just like have a police state.
Yeah, you've always got to babysit the person who's going home because they just could just, and it's like the craziest thing was that tribal council. She was just like, oh, I did that. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that silly of me? Like, it was like not like a horrible thing that they wrestled with. It was like, yeah.
And it used to be you would blindside people. We're like two old men. We're like the old guys on the Muppets. You know, in my day, you blindsided people so they wouldn't make a new alliance. Now you blindside people so they don't go and dump the rice out in the fire.
It's crazy. I love Jeff Prost's comment. It was like, what is it? It was like an interesting tribal council and a crazy one. Like, he was just like straight out, this was absolutely nuts.
Yeah, Jeff Probst says the reason why people do blindsides is because they're effective.
They are effective. They are effective. It's a good. He knows a thing or two about Survivor. That guy.
Yeah. So let's. I don't even know where to go. I guess let's.
One thing go ahead. I mean, maybe you've already talked about this, and I think you have. Is just the fact that this Brains tribe is not the Brains tribe that we deserve to have. It is not a tribe of actual brains. It is just a tribe of people who cannot keep their mouths shut. It's not like Spencer is the only, and David maybe, are the only real like brains. Maybe Cass as well.
Tasha. I don't have a big problem.
Yeah.
If anything, my biggest problem is Jatia with this group because everybody else seems like they were savvy about the game. I mean, I don't know exactly what Garrett was trying to do, but he at least has a profession where there is strategy involved in what he's doing, and I think he supposedly studied the game. But this Jatia, I really am at my wit's end.
Anybody who shows up on day one with washboard abs has no.
It seems like the four that's forming is Sarah, Wu, Cliff, and even Lindsay, and then it's Trisha and Tony that are on the outs.
And I like Tony. I really enjoy just the way he talks. And he built a spy shack. Like, I don't even understand. Can you explain the spy shack to me, Rob? What does the spy shack do?
Yeah, so Nicole summed up the Spy Shack best, I felt like. So Nicole said to me, I feel like the Spy Shack is just Tony being like, okay, you can't see me. You can't see me. And I'm holding my hands in front of my face. You can't see me. I'm in the Spy Shack now. Boy, do you think that Philip Shepard was watching the TV tonight and throwing the remote control over that he did not invent the Spy Shack?
You know that there is going to be a specialist hut next time Philip Shepard is on. That's amazing.
In the next specialist Costa Rica job too, there will be a spy shack at least.
Yeah, it's like it is literally. You're absolutely right. It is just like a place for like Tony to like put his hands over his face. Like it's like a little like what is it? Can you? I seriously don't even get like what's it in Tony's mind? What is it?
I think in Tony's mind, it's a bush that's behind the shelter that he can either hide behind or in which then he can then eavesdrop on the other people while
no one's going to notice Tony there? Why not just go behind the shelter? If you want to be behind the shelter, why do you have to climb into a bush to get
boy, how bad did Tony mishandle the Sarah, are you a cop conversation?
Yeah, pretty badly. I mean, I feel like he wasn't even sure. Like when he said that thing about, I'll be honest with you, I'm not. Like I feel like maybe he was like on the fence about it. That's a hard one. You would tell her you were a cop. You're a
I don't think
podcaster.
that, like, not for anything. If I was on a tribe and I found out somebody was a cop, I wouldn't say, boy, that person's a cop. I gotta vote them out because
Yeah.
cops are very untrustworthy and people who are, they're not loyal and they're not like if he was a bad guy, then I wouldn't say I was a bad guy. I would say I was a cop.
Yeah.
I don't think that. Why is like people overthink this so much?
People just like having, yeah.
Every job. If you're a school teacher, you're like, oh, I don't want to say I'm a school teacher because then people know that I work with kids and I have tenure, so I'll say I'm a doctor. Like,
Yeah. People are just so excited to be like sneaky and devious. They've been applying to Survivor for years. The whole application process itself has lasted months. They've been thinking about it for weeks. They've been on a plane. They've been at Ponderosa pregame. They are so excited to be devious that they're like all of these plans. That's why I feel like Tony's. It's like a little kid with his spy game. Oh, I'm not a cop. I work in construction. I mean, like, why is construction better than a cop? Like, people have great associations with construction workers.
Yeah, he's gonna be whistling at all the women walking by, or then she would say, "Oh, you're in construction, great! Oh, that'll be such a big help with the shelter." Like, I'm in.
Yeah. Different kind of construction, naval construction. But I like Tony. I mean, the fact that he immediately. The Braun tribe is a little bit low key. Tony seems to be going full throttle. I appreciated that. He found the idol, not for nothing. Am I using that right? I feel like I learned that expression for you, not for nothing. Not for nothing.
No, that's good. That's good. What are you saying is not for nothing?
That he found the idol.
Yeah. Well, first, I was concerned that he went into the water and he said, "I found a lump." I was like, "Oh no, Tony!" But thank goodness, it was just the immunity idol. What do you think of immunity idols hidden in bags underwater this season?
I would kind of like it, except that they seem pretty easy to find. People are just like taking a swim and they're finding idols.
Yeah, and Garrett was blindsided with an idol. Didn't seem to not even bring the idol with him to Tribal Council.
Left the idol back at camp. Does that mean someone is going to find it in his stuff? I think it does.
Was it in his stuff or he hid it somewhere else?
Not made clear.
Because it seems to me, and I never had the hidden immunity idol. If I had the hidden immunity, I would bring it with me every time to Tribal Council. The only place that it has any value is Tribal Council. If it was up to me, I would bring the hidden immunity idol every time I went to Tribal Council.
I mean, I agree with you in theory. I just think that, like, in practice, if you truly believe that you have everything under control, often it is more dangerous to go and dig it up if you have it properly hidden than it would be, the presumed risk of digging it up is larger than the presumed risk.
Okay, but in Garrett's situation, where with everything that was going on, do you think that he should have brought the idol with him?
I mean, Garrett, I think, had if someone just poured out the rice, I feel like I would feel pretty comfortable in thinking that person would go home, as I did tonight.
Yeah. Oh boy. Should we? I feel like we're gonna have a million questions. I feel like let's jump into questions because I know we don't try to do like an hour show here with this. But let's go ahead and try. Let's take a few questions from you guys. Kurt Clark, the Tabulator, wants to know: still thinking the Beauty Tribe is going to be the one that is full of comedy gold? Question mark. No, the Brains Tribe has been much more full of comedy gold so far.
And the Brains has kept their like number one comedic driver, who is Jatia, who amazing.
Yeah. Steven, did you hear that Jatia loves nerds?
I heard that. What is that about? What is her whole like nerd thing about? I mean,
no, let's not even get into that.
Okay.
It's complicated from what I understand.
All right.
From what I understand. Okay. This is from Coral Fanatic. Edward Morris wants to know: do you think that Cass made up her mind before Tribal, or was something said to get her to vote for Garrett? Well, could we just talk through exactly what Garrett said? And this is like one of the, if this was later, I would have watched that Tribal Council again before we came on. So how exactly what did Garrett say that was the offensive line?
I think the worst thing, Garrett, it seemed like Garrett put his foot in his mouth in a number of ways. But I felt like the worst thing he said was this thing about how, like, the Alliance all wanted Jatia out. And then, like, Cass smiled. And like Jeff was like, "What do you mean?" And Garrett was like, "Oh, the alliance of me, Spencer, and Cass, and then he tried to like contradict himself, right? Then he was like, "Oh, I don't mean that. I didn't say that." And then he had just said that. Like, what? Do you remember it wrong?
Yeah, I think so. And then he said the four of us, and somebody was like, "Which four?"
Right.
And then Jeff even said, "Wait, but isn't that just exactly what you said?" And even Spencer threw him under the bus. Like Spencer was like, "Yeah, actually, Jeff, yeah, that is what he said. He can't."
I think Spencer's playing the right game though, in terms of just answering the questions honestly at Tribal Council. I think that's the way to play now. I think Cochran did it really well in Caramon and just being as honest and straightforward as possible. And I think that's what Spencer not studying the game. That is a person who is not interested in being there for 39 days. You do not go for 39 days looking like you just have been like on a shredding program.
Garrett claimed he spent 2,000 hours preparing for Survivor. Oh no.
What does that even mean? How do you quantify that?
He just spent 2,000 hours preparing for Survivor. It's not good. Let's touch on the first tribal council as well before we get to. By the way, there are 2 other tribes. In the first hour, we had David, who I was very surprised because I thought David was going to be somebody who I thought could have gone very far in the game.
David was one of my favorites going in.
Yeah, and David did not do a lot wrong, in my opinion. I felt like his biggest mistakes were in that first, he acted too aggressively in that first little interaction with the group.
And he said to Garrett, I'm making a decision based on the end game. He wasn't really apologetic, and he just was like very matter of fact. And maybe he thought that was going to be more effective, to not have this like false sense of apology and just be like, here's what I'm doing.
Yeah, and I think that's basically a Survivor sin when it's day 1 and you're thinking about, a day that's in the double digits, that you just worry about getting through 3 days. And if you get elected the leader of that group, who is the weakest? The right answer is Cass.
Right, always go for the older lady. Because often they'll just excuse you. And also, like, did these people really think these people were getting voted out of the game? Like, how many times has it happened that someone's been isolated the first day? Now, it happened to us in Token Cheens, and we had a moment of like, oh my God, maybe these 2 people are going home. But 3 people on day 1, it's like, what are you thinking? It's not going to be a game of 15 people. You can't realistically be thinking all these people are actually going home right away. Yeah,
and doubly, what I'd be thinking is these people are going to, get some sort of a power or something like that.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, I mean, I know it was different last season where somebody was going to Redemption Island, but I don't know. They didn't see that last season.
And too, like if someone went to Redemption Island, then you don't want that person to be your biggest threat. I don't like the leader twist, Rob. I don't like it. I think it's unfair. I think it adds tension in a way that is not organic to the game. It basically, once you've been the leader, you are screwed because you have a person with a grudge against you. And my personal favorite for the season, I feel like, is really getting screwed by that, who is LJ. I feel like LJ would be doing gangbusters, except for the fact that he was elected leader, and now he has Morgan with a vendetta against him.
Is that necessarily a bad thing? Is Morgan with a vendetta? Is that? I know the episode is called "A Hot Girl with a Grudge," but this isn't exactly like pissing off Kaiser Soze.
I think it is a bad thing. I mean, it turns out like empirically to be a bad thing because Bryce plays on it. They recruit Jeremiah. I think LJ. I worry about LJ because I love him. He's beautiful looking. And he's amazing at puzzles. I like his attitude, and I think that this sort of like negative Nancy alliance with Morgan and Bryce is going to be his downfall.
You're concerned about the Morgan and Bryce alliance.
I'm concerned that we saw them like pull in Jeremiah at the end of it, and now that's 3 people, and I'm not seeing. Yeah, go ahead.
I think Jeremiah was with LJ.
But wasn't there a scene of them pulling?
Yeah, there was. I don't understand why he would switch from LJ.
Yeah, because Morgan has giant boobs. Did you really not understand that?
I guess so. So because he wants. So Bryce is like the pimp, and basically like Jeremiah is the John, and Morgan is the professional woman, and Bryce is like, hey man, you want to get some of this? Like you gotta pay up. You're in this alliance now. We need your vote.
Are you saying Morgan is a lady of the beach?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it's like. He's pimping out Morgan. She's the bait, and he's pimping her out.
Okay, all right. What did you think of the beauty tribe? Is it too soon to switch tribes?
No, I'm sure we'll come back to it. We got a ton of questions. I'm sure we'll come back to the Brains tribe. We could talk beauty tribe. Yeah, I feel like that was pretty much. I think we all thought LJ was going to be good. I don't think there's any surprise there that he came out of the gate good. I thought actually Morgan was a little sharper than I expected her to be.
Her lie about why she was off looking for the idol and what she chose, that was so on point. That was really smart.
Yeah, that was very smart. I was very impressed with her. So for a number of reasons, Stephen.
Because of the boobs.
No, Stephen, did you think it was an unfair advantage for the beauty tribe that the immunity challenge involved lugging around a huge chest? Do you think that was why they won?
Yeah, that's really funny. I didn't hear
that. Bryce impressed me tonight too. I thought Bryce was good.
I felt like Bryce was exactly the type of Bryce that I expected him to be. He was like, he had like some great one, like buy these purple pants, I'm gonna set you up or something. Like he was scheming in a very low key way. Yeah, he was great. I really liked him.
Yeah, and I felt like Bryce could have gone either way. And I feel like I'm happy to see that he ended up being. It seems like he's a strong player, and he's there to play the game. He wasn't like somebody that he wasn't wilting on day one. He actually was like there to play, so that was good. And
that's a great point. Yeah.
And then I felt like Alexis and Jeffro were kind of non-entities so far through the first episode.
Right, they were just like giggling and like splashing in the shore. They were like the eye candy of the beauty tribe.
Yeah, Steven, are you all urinating a lot?
What a strange. I know you're not pooping.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Brawn tribe. And Stephen, I have no idea what you think of any of the players. I was very high on Sarah all through the preseason, and I felt redeemed in my night one assessment of Sarah so far.
Yeah, who was just on your screen behind you. I really liked Sarah as well. I thought she was great. Of the people who are elected leaders, she was the only one who seemed to be able to do it, without irritating someone. Trish, to her credit, took it very well. I mean, Braun is like exactly what you want Braun to be. They're a bunch of athletes. They want to high five. They're all go team, except for Tony. But I agree, Sarah is great.
Yeah, Sarah was great. But Cliff Robinson was good. I did not think Cliff Robinson would do well here, and Cliff Robinson had a good first night.
Yeah, he was charming. Everybody loved him. He's just laughing, being nice. I love Woo. Woo's great. How do you like Woo? Yeah.
Yeah, they're good. They're fun. And it seems like in that group. Yes, that's right. It's the Survivor Know-It-Alls, and we are back here for our 4th season of Survivor Know-It-Alls here for Survivor. I've heard it 13 different ways tonight from Jeff Probst himself. Cagayan? What is it, Stephen Fishback?
Whoa, excuse me. I'm bursting at the seams over here. I'm so excited, Rob. I'm so excited to see you. I'm so excited to be talking about Survivor. I'm so excited by this season. I thought it was a cute twist to begin with. Tonight, it was just a totally nuts at first episode. A lot of big things to talk about. And Rob, there is no one who I would want to be talking about them more than you.
Yeah, you seem giddy, and that makes me giddy because, I don't think we've even talked since the last Survivor Know-It-Alls after the finale.
This is our only means of communication is on a podcast, and so I miss you. And
I've been getting so many messages from people. Is Stephen Fishback on Survivor right now? Because he hasn't tweeted since January 25th. So many people are concerned about you, Stephen. Where is Stephen Fishback?
That's really thoughtful. I'm taking a little bit of a hiatus. January was my birthday. It was my 35th birthday. I'm an old man, and I thought, I need to like gather some of my maturity into me and just unleash it all in one torrent on the Know-It-Alls.
Oh, see, I have only started tweeting even more since my 35th birthday.
Oh, there you go. So we're like taking two paths, and in like 10 years we'll see like which one of us is doing better. This will be like an experiment.
Yeah, maybe Robert Frost will write a poem about our social media one day.
Yeah. The tweet less retweeted.
Yeah. All right. So we've got so much to do here. Everybody is so excited. We've got about 700 people watching this live right now. It is about 20 minutes after the episode ended on the East Coast. A 2-hour Survivor premiere. So much to get to. Tough night for the Brains tribe. Oh my God.
Every single season or so, like maybe every other season, we say such and such a tribe is the worst tribe in history. Is the Brains tribe actually the worst tribe in Survivor history? One episode in.
Yes, I think they have the potential because arguably they lost. They were really terrible, and they lost two of their stronger players in the first night. Whereas we had the tribe with Malcolm and Denise, where at the end it was like Malcolm and Denise sort of cutting out the fat. This is sort of like the two, maybe the two of the best guys that they had are now gone.
Not just two of their strongest players, Rob. Also all of their rice.
And the rice is gone, and it's about to have a torrential downpour. And
they had like the worst shelter building experience since All Stars, with Rupert. Like that's basically, I mean, like.
Yeah.
What do you think of this? Hold on.
All right. Well. Let me set the show up. And then we'll jump into everything. I know everybody's excited. Okay, so this is Survivor Know-It-Alls. We are live here on robhasawebsite.com. People are going in the chat room. Scott St. Pierre is taking your questions. Use the hashtag RHAP. And of course, if you're listening to the audio, or if you want to join our YouTube channel, you can go to robhasawebsite.com/YouTube, and we always appreciate it when you subscribe. And if you're happy to see the show back and you like what we do here tonight, we love it when you give us a like on the YouTube video as well. And if you want to subscribe to Rob Has a Podcast, this is only the beginning. We got exit interviews with both players who were kicked off tomorrow. We'll have our full recap podcast with Steven's favorite player, Otis, is going to be joining us for the first podcast of the season. So we've got so much to do here. So if you want to subscribe, robhasawebsite.com/iTunes for the main show feed, or for Survivor only, you can go to robhasawebsite.com/Survivor podcast. All right, Steven, go ahead. You have the floor.
Just make sure Otis is paying attention to you on the podcast, Rob, and isn't off meditating somewhere when he's supposed
I will.
to be. Yeah.
I'll check that out. All right, so let's just jump in here. Okay, question number one. So we had this insane tribal council here tonight, which, as I'm watching it, I did not think it was going to be an insane tribal council. Jeff Probst is like, boy, a lot of stuff came out here tonight. Let's see how it goes. And I said to Nicole, I'll tell you how it goes. Everybody votes out the girl that dumped out all the rice for the tribe. I'll tell you how it goes. And that was not how it went.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, as crazy and bad as Jatia is, I feel like Gary is almost that bad. I feel like he's close. Like, he actually says to Tasha, you are not in our alliance. There's a 3-person alliance. It's me, Spencer, and Cass, and you are not in it. Garrett is a poker player. His job is to withhold information. Is Garrett's poker tell when he tells the other people what cards he has?
It's a literal tell?
Yeah. That's what he did tonight. He literally told Tasha what she was doing.
Okay, so tell me this. Did they change their vote at Tribal Council, or did they already decide the 3 of them were together, and that just sort of was, the icing on the cake?
That's a good question. I'd be very interested to hear whenever you get to talk to Cass, probably next week. That I would bet that Cass changed her vote at Tribal Council based on how bad Garrett was.
Yeah. And boy, everybody is all fired up tonight. Jimmy Edwards says a nuclear bomb was just dropped on the Brains tribe. There you go. Boy,
this is the problem with casting non-Brains. I feel like this is not representative of what a real Brains tribe could do, Rob. Like, these are some of the stupidest players ever.
Well, this confirmed all of our worst suspicions of what could happen with the Brains tribe. In all the previews that we did, we said that, all these players in a vacuum seem smart, but will they just be gunning for each other out of the gate? And, I think that's exactly what happened. You had David and Garrett going for each other right from the get-go, and now they're both gone. And now you have Spencer left here with these 3 women who... Now, it's an insane night. It's an insane night overall. Steven, what did you think of Spencer? I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that, because you haven't been tweeting, so I really have no idea what you think of any of these players.
So initially I was a little bit hesitant about Spencer. I thought he was a little bit too much talk, a little bit too much bravado about how evil he was going to be, how manipulative.
And you don't like that?
I like the bravado when it's coming from a guy who I think can execute on the bravado. You know, Russell Hantz talks smack. He is going to bring smack to the table. Spencer's a 21-year-old kid. He's got no life experience. I thought this kid is he's gonna self-destruct. He's gonna try to be this mastermind and he's gonna fail. I think Spencer is playing it exactly as he should, and he is not going for the mastermind role. He is sitting back. He is playing other people's game, and he is like just subtly influencing people. And I thought one great example of that was in this conversation he has with Garrett, where he's like talking about the immunity idol. And like he's saying, oh, don't you think David could have the idol? I'm kind of worried maybe David has the idol. On the one hand, maybe Spencer is actually worried about David having the idol. I think Spencer's worried that Garrett might have the idol.
That's interesting.
It's like, I'm going to say, when Jeff asks something, I'm always going to give the most forthright answer, and then no one can accuse me of being duplicitous.
What's the next move for Spencer?
I think he's got to put the target on. I mean, one, Jatia really blows up again, and two, I think Cass. I think Cass is going to be a weak link in a challenge. You know, these people still have to compete in challenges. They just voted off their ox. You know, like what's going to happen to them?
Yeah, that's why I think that was such a bad move for Cass, because I feel like that what has a better chance of getting you to the merge, at least with some numbers. And I feel like to vote out, she's the third in that Garrett and Spencer alliance, okay, no matter what. And you know what? Guess what? She's probably third in the Tasha-Jatia alliance anyway. So if I'm going to be third, I would rather have Garrett over Jatia, who single-handedly cost the challenge. One of the worst ways, like, not since Daniel Liu has one person been so responsible for a tribe blowing such a big lead on Survivor.
Huge lead, and a freaking nuclear engineer. I love Spencer's remark that, like, he makes him actually afraid that she is a nuclear engineer. She also screwed up the first challenge when she, like, just started grabbing keys and not unlocking things. She was really one of their, like, major problems.
And she also screwed up the shelter. She showed up and was like, hey, I'm the nuclear engineer. And, you know, it really is. Spencer had it right. It's terrifying to think that she is our lives are in her hands.
Yeah. Probably one of the worst players ever. I mean, you know, someone who's not voted out first is often, you know, you can't say, oh, well, they were voted out, so they're the worst. She's redefining bad.
We've seen players bounce back, so the story isn't written, but I would say probably one of the worst first nights in the history of the show for a person that survived the first night.
You're thinking Ho-Ho, the Holly Hoffman?
That's pretty bad. Holly Hoffman bounced back. Holly Hoffman. I don't think that anybody. I mean, really, how many things? It's even a miracle for somebody who went to 2 tribal councils. How many things did she survive? One, she screwed up the whole thing with the shelter and bossed everybody around, and people wanted to vote her out for that. Then she screwed up in the first challenge. Not the, you know, what you can't put all the blame on her, but definitely she was not a strong part of the first challenge. Then she blows the second challenge completely 100%,
yeah.
110% her fault. Then she dumps out the rice on.
It's like she's testing them, you know. It's like, how far can I push this? It's like it's like the entire show of Survivor is getting punked, Rob. It's like, how far can I push this and not get voted out? What else could she do now to cause herself to get voted out?
Right. It's like she's the mole.
Yeah.
She could be the mole. Yeah. So really, just a horrible first night, and yet she's there.
So what did Garrett say, and do you think it was enough to cause Cass to flip?
I think that what they didn't like about Garrett, and not particularly what he said there. I think it was more that what he did early on in the camp. It seemed to really bug Tasha, and we have to find out whether or not Cass flipped at Tribal Council or Cass flipped back at camp after her and Tasha had the conversation. I think that's the key thing that we need to find out about this episode.
I agree. I mean, I do think Garrett was bad enough at Tribal Council that it would just his. If I were, what's her name?
Which one? Cass.
If I were Cass sitting there at Tribal Council. And you know what? Jatia had a pretty good performance at Tribal Council. Jatia does pretty well at Tribal Councils. And you know, Tasha's and Jatia on the one side are pretty reasonable. And then there's Garrett just like fumbling around and making an ass of himself. I might side that way as well.
Yeah, Garrett did not have a good performance at the Tribal Councils. Between the spider on him, it was also weird in the first Tribal Council where Jeff was like, okay, does anybody want to play the Hidden Immunity Idol? And he was like, Like, what was that
could be
about?
editing. I don't know about that. I'm always suspicious of like those like random. You know, it's always like someone
That's
taking a drink
fair.
of
That's
water
fair.
at just that moment.
Yeah. All right. So let's take some more questions. This is from Fitzy Brendan, Brendan Fitzpatrick. He wants to know, has there ever been someone who is more obviously a recruit and has never seen a single episode than Garrett? Hashtag RHAP. I don't know if that's the case. I think that Garrett has seen the show before.
I think I'm with Fitzy here, that Garrett is a recruit, and he's someone who watched a ton of episodes to prepare in advance, and that is where his knowledge of the show comes from. Now, I also was that person, the recruit who watched a ton of episodes to prepare in advance. I was just a lot smarter than him.
Who would win in a poker game, you or Garrett?
I believe I would just ask him what his cards were, and he would tell me, and I would win.
Yeah. No, he would sit. What he would do is sit at the table and say, "All right, guys, seriously, we're all here at the poker table. No bluffing whatsoever. Let's just all show each other our cards. Look, I have a king and a 4. That's what I have. So let's just play it out. Let's see what the flop is, and then let's just go from there." He's a joke. And at the point when he has the big stack, where he has the most chips, he's like, "All right, everybody, let's just all show each other what cards we have."
Yeah, exactly.
But wait, how am I supposed to beat you if you well? Let's just not worry about that.
Well, he was really whiny too. You know, that was another thing that really bothered me about Garrett, is he was like, "I'm hungry and tired. I don't want to play. I don't want to work. First he said he didn't want to work because he wanted to play the strategic game. Then when it was time to play the strategic game, he's like, "I don't want to play the strategic game. I want to sit here."
No, he didn't say that. That wasn't what. Well, you know, you're kind of right. He didn't want. He didn't want to. He felt like the game was hard. The conditions were hard, and he didn't feel like doing anything. So you didn't feel like he got out of the gate. I mean, it's day what? 4, day 5. He did not seem to have a love of the game, of somebody that's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm playing Survivor. This is great." And that adrenaline carries you through a week, 2 weeks in the game. You know?
And you know what? Maybe if he had a little bit of extra padding, he might have been able to last a little bit longer.
Yeah, that's good. The padding is good. Don't sleep on the padding.
Yeah.
That's good.
We got Paige Thompson wants to know, will Survivor ever ban food/camp destruction? I would rather get punched once by Jatia than lose my rice supply. Good question, Rob. What do you think? Will they ban it when everyone is always throwing out the rice?
Well, I don't know. I think that something worse needs to happen before we do that, before we change the rules. Because how are you gonna call that? I mean, and then also you have no episode. So if we make the rule, if you pour the rice in the fire, then immediate DQ.